Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about The Man in the High Castle Season 2. So, Season 2 takes place mere moments after Season 1. And I've said this before, The Man in the High Castle is I can't talk today, an Amazon Prime show that depicts what would happen if Germany and Japan won World War II. It's set in an alternate reality and it's quite a fascinating show. It lasted for 4 seasons. The first 3 are really good. The 4th one is extremely confusing and stuff and not as good. Mostly because most of the main cast left, or their characters were died off, or they just completely disappeared with no explanation whatsoever. And so it just wasn't really that good of a season. Now, just like I said before, when talking about the NAZIs, I'm just going to say knots because, YouTube is the way it is and won't let you say certain things. And so, it's fascinating. There's been plenty of shows that depicted what would happen if the Germans won World War II and stuff. But this one feels just so realistic and more believable. But you know what's interesting? Everybody always talks about how the Germans are evil because they were, plain and simple as that, and how they try to conquer the world. But nobody ever talks about the actual country that nearly took over the entire world, or at least had their foot planted in a country as a settlement and everything. And that country is Britain. Yes, nobody never ever talks about that. How they will have their royal family marry into other countries, how they colonize so many other countries where people already lived there and took over those countries to where now they are the dominant force. And it's crazy how many countries Britain has been associated with by either colonizing or completely controlling. There is, of course, all of North America, America, and Canada. They used to rule America and Canada, but of course America had the war and we won and we got to be our own country, whereas Canada, still early in the 1900s, was still under British rule. A large part, I believe, what was it? I think it was Hong Kong or China one, I don't know which one. They was under British rule and everything, and they didn't stop until the 1990s and stuff. Not all of China, but a good portion of it, mostly economic and stuff. They took over India. They took over South Africa. They took over New Zealand and everything, because New Zealand, the Polynesian ancestors are the one who actually colonized New Zealand, like the Maori people and stuff, but then the white settlers took it over and stuff. Australia, the Aborigines were the original people of Australia, and the Aborigine people were Black, came from Africa, and I think the Torres people, I believe, that was indigenous Polynesian type people. But then, of course, the European people put their prisoners over there. Then they later colonized it and stuff like that. They married into Spain and stuff like that. They married into Scotland. They married, I think, Ireland as well. Places they have taken over. It was back in them horse and sword days and everything. They had their France. They had their France as well. They had their foot cemented somewhere in those countries and stuff. I can't remember one of the two. It's either Cuba or Puerto Rico. I can't remember which one. And there are other countries as well. I just can't think of them right now. But it's crazy to think that, they had literally taken over a vast part of the entire world. Yet nobody's ever like talked about it in like a television series. Nobody ever made an alternate reality series about that. Why not? They were like the original, like, conquerors and everything. And they have helped to screw up the entirety of the world as a result. My God, like my people came from like the Caribbean and Africa and stuff like that. And I'm over here living in America. All because they made my people into slaves and they took the lands from like the indigenous people. And it's insane, man. Like it's insane. Could you imagine what the world would have looked like if they never like meddled in like other countries' businesses and stuff? Oh yeah, yeah. But anyway, yeah, let's talk about Germany and everything. Now, yes, the Germans back in World War II are evil. And I mean, they were evil. Which I still don't understand why. The original Mighty Morphin Red Ranger wanted to quote Hitler of all people. He wants to make a bunch of shirts with some famous quotes from both good people and bad. And one of those bad people he named was Hitler. Like, oh, he was a bad dude, but man had some great quotes and everything. No, he did not. The man committed genocide and everything like that. This fool is a fool. I swear to God, man. Like something's wrong with this man's head. But I don't think he's going to do that no more because he had a lot of pushback from his fans. But the damage was done and people are done with him. But I've been done with his behind. Anyways. Now, one thing I just now found out about season 2 and probably why it feels a little watered down and a little inconsistent at times with the rest of the seasons is because the showrunner from the first season left the second season after a couple of episodes. So that's why the tone feels a little different. He basically said that he wants the ability to tell every story, and with so many characters, 10 episodes just isn't going to be enough time, which explains why some people aren't that developed, like Ed, Robert, and Keto this season. So, season 1 was very good, very intense, very edgy and everything. Things in season 1 broke, well, it could break your heart. It could break you and everything. To see what happened to Frank, to see what happened to his sister, his niece and nephew for something he did not do, all because they was looking for his girlfriend. Like, it was a nightmare and everything. And it changed him. These tapes changed all these main characters' lives in one way or another. And it all started with Trudy, the tape, and her sister Juliana, like finding her and being killed by Keto and everything. And Juliana trying to get these tapes to like the neutral zone. The neutral zone. It shaped the lives of everybody here. But that season was so intense that they decided to water down this season big time. This season is more personal. We got the intensity of what this show is about. Now you get more into the character development side of everything. So we get a more interpersonal view of all these characters. And yes, you better believe it. They try to redeem 2 of the evil people who are part of the American Reich and everything. Why are you going to try to humanize your 2 villains? Like, why? Just make them bad. But they saw their mistake later on a couple of other seasons. Now, I will pertain just to season 2. But if I have to talk about something that happens in the other seasons, I will let you know in advance. And so, yes, this season is more interpersonal. There are less stakes. There aren't really people being tortured that much. There aren't really people being like, somebody gets shot at a couple of times because they're trying to kill Juliana this season because of what she did at the end of season 1. And to be completely honest with you, I just don't know how to feel about Juliana this season. You can't really tell if she's good or bad or scared or what. And her mission is just kind of up in the air. And it's kind of like, did he really send you on that mission, or were you just really just trying to hide because the Japanese people are trying to kill you and everything? Now, one problem this show has, no matter what season it is the disappearance of certain characters. After this season, people will tend to disappear from the series with no explanation whatsoever. Either they will just be completely written off, or they will die off screen in between this season and the next, and you just kind of like, when did they die? I didn't see them die. Could we at least see that happen or something? And these characters were cool. Why get rid of them and everything? It was the start of this series starting to go downhill once you get a little bit into season 3, just a little bit, but really it got messed up in season 4. And just like I said last season, Juliana and Frank, they never see each other again after the first season. So Ed won't be able to see Juliana and stuff. But the craziest thing is this season, Juliana and Joe don't see each other either. And she risked everything to save Joe, an American Reich Nazi and everything. And it was not worth it. Because, I don't know I don't know how to feel about her character this season. Now, the United States has been separated. Pretty much the Germans rule all of America except for parts in the West. On the far west side is the Japanese Pacific region or something like that, empire or something like that. The Japanese own all that. But then there's a part between Japanese and the Germans that's called the neutral zone. And that's pretty much where, see, here's the thing. This show has a bad way of explaining what happened to all the other races in the show. We know what happens to the Jewish people. The German people take them out as soon as they find out who they are. And if the Japanese find any German people, they arrest them and threaten to hand them over to the Germans, or they just execute them then and there. So there are some Jewish people, but they're hiding out pretending to be white. Frank is one of them. Now, as for the other races, this is where it doesn't make no sense. Where the heck are they and everything? See, Germany doesn't rule the entire world. They pretty much just got Germany, of course, and America and a few other countries. South America is not one of them, but I believe Africa has been taken over and they renamed it and stuff. 'Cause I remember seeing the map and seeing a different name on there, but I can't remember what it was. But it's kind of like, in America, where are all the other Asian races that are not Japanese? Don't know. Where are all the black people, the Italians, the Muslims, the indigenous people? Where are these people at and stuff? So the show doesn't do a good job of explaining that. Because in all of America, it's only white. And then in the Japanese area, it's Japanese, white, and I think a sprinkle of black people you see here and there. But they never show what happens to these black people and stuff. You just see them out and about with everybody else, but that's about it. Now, in the neutral zone, you do see a couple of other races, mainly black, Native American, and a couple of Asians, but don't know what kind of Asians they are, and white folks. And of course the Japanese and the Germans, they are allowed to go to neutral zone and they enforce their will whenever they're looking for somebody. So it gets kind of confusing because you want to know where all these other races are. Especially I want to know where all the black folks are, because America had a lot of black people in the 60s and stuff. But season four kind of explains that. All of a sudden, in season four, there are black people everywhere, and apparently there's oh, I'm so sorry. Spoiler alert. There's a black resistance group and everything. I'm all like, what the heck have they been for the past 3 seasons? You don't see none of them anywhere in the other seasons, and they really could have helped out with the man in the high castle, but they're their own separate group. And so it just gets really, 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 really confusing. Also, the travelers, that's a little confusing because they don't really explain the rules. You have to watch every season and then you kind of make the rules up yourself and can kind of figure out. Like, travelers are the ones who can travel through dimensions and they do it through years of meditation and stuff. And like they can only travel to a dimension where either they never existed or they're deceased in that world. And if they happen to travel to a world where they used to be there, but their other person, the dimensional duplicate is dead, then if they stay there too long, it makes them sick. And they have to come back to their world and everything. And so, so it's interesting, but they don't explain how people are able to meditate and really go there, you know? So, anyways, I guess I could start with who the show is named after, the man in the high castle, who is really pissed off at Juliana and wants to talk to her and everything. And so his name is kind of hard to pronounce. It's Hawthorne Abinson. That I don't know how to say his last name. Abinson. And he's kind of this kooky, almost manic type man who has studied all the tapes and has memorized them all. He knows exactly some of these prominent people, what they do in every world, how they're connected in every world, this and that. Like Juliana, somehow she's always connected to the resistance and the war and stuff like that. Either she's a protester, either she's fighting in the war, or she's working with the resistance that helped take down the Germans and stuff. And so she's very vital to him, as is Trudy. And he believes that, you know, all these worlds, even though they have different outcomes and stuff, certain events that will happen in other worlds will happen to, like, you know, the one in which they live in. Because it's too much of an occurrence. And one of those occurrences is Japan and Germany not getting along and going to war. And somebody dropping a nuke on San Francisco, because in pretty much in every reality that happens except for one. And so, like, he questions her about all the people she interacted with, and was there anybody that, like, you know, in the videotapes that she recognizes and this and that. And so one of those people is a new character named Dixon. And so, like, with him, he wants to know if she remembers him or if she knows him. But she has no idea who Dixon is. And so George Dixon is very vital to him. And this is what kind of causes her to go and look for him and stuff, because he's very important to the outcome of the world and also her. And so after he sends her off and everything, and she heads back to San Francisco, him and Lim, he decides to burn all of the tapes except for a few of them. And then after that, we don't see him to the end until when he talks to Juliana. And the tapes, like I said, they are the one with footage of the war from other dimensions. And in the book, which this is based off of, instead of a tape, it's just a book, which doesn't make no sense. The tapes make a whole lot more sense. And of course, Hawthorne, he actually travels through dimensions and stuff. And so when he informs her that, hey, Trudy is actually alive and let me introduce you to her. So we see Trudy at the very end of the season. But how can this be? Because Trudy died in the first episode of season 1. Therefore, either the real Trudy never died or this is one from another dimension. I guess I'll mention Juliana next, so why not? So Juliana goes back home where she confronts her mom and confronts that of her stepdad, Arnold, and tells her mommy, look, you gotta pack your stuff. It's not safe for us to live here no more because, she screwed up. Why? Because she was kept prisoner by the resistance. Then the resistance tried to kill her, not Lim, and not that one female lady that whatchamacallem, who interacted with her in the first season, a new character and everything. And so he tries to kill her and everything because the resistance is extremely pissed off with her because Joe got away with the tape. And so she managed to get out of the trunk, and there was a Japanese soldier, and he confronted them, and there was a huge shootout to where they killed the Japanese soldier. And she fled and everything and made her way back home. And so they're in pursuit of her, and they try to kill her all throughout the season. And so she tells her mom, hey, it ain't safe, this and that. Well, she sees a picture of the man, George, that I told you about. And she asks who it was. Her mom has to confess and everything. It's Trudy's real father. Yes, Trudy and Juliana are half sisters, and her mom was getting busy. They have 2 separate dads and a stepfather and everything. And the stepfather, Arnold, is the one who betrayed Judy to the Japanese and everything. But he didn't know it was going to get her killed because, she had a tape and stuff like that. And so because of this, she realizes that he might be in New York, and New York is controlled by Germany. So she takes what money she can and she flees as the Japanese are also in pursuit of her. So now she has the Japanese and the resistance people trying to kill her behind because of what she did. And the Japanese still want her for questioning because of the events of season 1 in the tape. She makes her way all the way to New York, where she defects to the Reich. And she's taken under the wing of that of Smith. Now, of course, Smith was that former American soldier who turned into a Nazi. And we get to see a flashback of him when Washington, D.C. got nuked and everything. And spoiler alert, we'll learn more about his backstory in season 4 about how exactly he turned and stuff. And so Smith has a huge interest in Juliana because of the whole Joe Blake thing. He knows he can manipulate Joe through Juliana. So he's as nice to her as possible can be. And so while there, she gets a call from that of George Dixon. And by this time, more of the resistance people want to off her, but he tells them to back down. And so, pretty much she now works for him, trying to get information that she can from Smith. He wants her to befriend Helen Smith, the wife. And so in order to get close to her, he wants her to get close to her friends to get close to her. While they're in there, see, here's the problem why I say you can't trust her. When she meets Smith, the first thing she asks him is, where's Joe at? She's still in love with that dude. It's even so much that like she calls the operator to find out where he lives. By this time, he already went to Berlin, but she meets his girlfriend and baby mama, who he has now left and everything, because he fell in love with her and he had another mission to go to Berlin. So she has now helped ruin this relationship, and as the resistance is trying to kill her, she sees a man sitting down and starts kissing him, and then his wife comes over like, "Who you kissing?" and everything. So she has helped break up two relationships. So she does what is asked because she wants to live and everything. So she befriends the friends of Helen. And she realizes that a lot of these women that live over in the Reich are actually pretty nice. But Helen, because her husband is high ranking, she is the one everybody sucks up to. And she does befriend Helen, but Helen threatens her because Helen and son Thomas, he has a very big illness. And that's a big no-no in with the knots and everything, because you're supposed to be perfect in every way. And any kind of deformity will certainly meet your death. And so she notices that Thomas just blacked out and everything and was kind of trembling. And Helen saw that, so she threatens Juliana, not to tell nobody, but Juliana wasn't gonna do it anyway because she has really come to respect their family and stuff, right? Well, this is now the problem. She's back to her old ways again from season 1. When Thomas went to go confine her and ask what's wrong with him because the parents won't tell him, she tells him that, your family's just trying to protect you and they have your best interests and you need to ask them what's wrong with you. Little does she know she's being bugged. She's being bugged by the resistance and that of Smith. And so George is all we now have audio tape of Thomas talking about there's something wrong with him, and that's against the law. And because of that, he will be put to death, and so will the Smiths for hiding this and everything. And they're gonna broadcast it around the entire world. Juliana does not like this at all. And she tells them, he's just a little kid and blah, blah, and crap like that. And you can't do this to him. It will ruin him. And they're all like, who cares? He's going to grow up to be like a Nazi if he lives and stuff. He's evil. The boy is brainwashed. So when George leaves and everything, she grabs a gun, I think his gun, and she shoots and kills him in the back and steals the tape. And I'm just kind of whose side is this woman on? You know what I'm saying? She knows she has to take down the knots, but she's too busy feeling sorry for them and helping them and crap. So she takes the tape and she meets with some of the resistance people because, like I said before, they're still trying to kill her. And they almost succeed, but you gotta remember from season 1, Juliana knows martial arts because she was taught by the Japanese. And she whoops their behind and kills both of them and stuff. She heads back to the neutral zone where the man in the high castle finds her. But by this time, she's already burnt the tape of Thomas' confession. And she's pissed because she's all y'all just keep using me and blah, 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 blah. And the man in the high castle is look, I needed you to find George. And I was hoping that you will kill him and everything. Because George, what is it? George pretty much dies in every reality. And him dying helps stops a war between the Germans and the Japanese because the man in the high castle needs that of, what is the dude's first? I think it's John Smith, the head Knots dude. Anyway, He needs him to survive because he is the one who's going to give information to the Germans not to go to war with the Japanese. Because the last thing they need to do is fight over fight with nuclear weapons and everything. So he needed her to get close to him and off him and everything, or just stop him, so that, because Smith would have died if that tape would have got out and everything. But the man in the high castle and Juliana are gonna regret leaving Smith alive. And so, like I said before, she doesn't see Frank at all this season. She doesn't even see Joe this season. And cause Frank hates her behind, but she gives a message to her mom to give to Frank, saying that she never betrayed him. She's just working undercover and stuff, which of course causes Frank to forgive her. Gary, Lim, and that of Sarah. They are resistance fighters. Lim, who we knew from the first season, who interacted with Juliana. He does not do much at all this season. And he pretty much takes Juliana and they're driving out somewhere and they got her in the trunk of the car. And so Gary is the man in the high castle's enforcer, and he wants to put a bullet in Juliana's head, which shocks and surprises Lim. But when she tries to escape, they have a shootout and stuff. Because of that, that one lady that from the first season ended up getting shot and everything by a Japanese soldier. Because of that, more people want Juliana dead. Now, Sarah is quite unique and fascinating. Sarah is, of course, Japanese, and for whatever reason, she joined the resistance. But it's never truly explained why exactly she joined. Her backstory kind of doesn't make a little bit of sense. Now, she was put in a concentration camp with other Japanese people during the war, because that's what Americans did back then. I think the dude who plays Sulu, even he said he was in one of those concentration type camps, because they just didn't trust Asian people around that time. And so she said that they can't go back home to Japan because the people there don't consider her and her dad Japanese, and then the people in America don't consider them American. But as for why she joined, she says she doesn't hate nobody, and she joined the resistance to, I don't know, I guess to bring peace or whatever. It's never explained really why she's joined. It's just kind of odd. But she works closely with Frank because they end up hooking up and everything. Frank this season is a very, very changed man. He's been a changed man ever since season 1. After being stripped down and beaten and, finding out that they killed his niece, nephew, and sister, he's just been extremely pissed off and angry, to the point where he was about to assassinate the Crown Prince of Japan, but somebody beat him to it. And so Juliana left him. And remember, like I said last season, him and her about to go to Mexico with Ed, and then all of a sudden, Joe got kidnapped or whatever, so they had to ransom him off and this and that, and he's been through the ringer. And of course, he knows in the alternate reality, Joe ends up assassinating him. But he has grown to be extremely angry this season. And so when he gets back and he goes back to Robert's place, because him and Robert, were making fake jewelry for this one Japanese dude who wanted to buy it. He informs him that, Ed has confessed and everything, and they took Ed. He's upset and he goes to Keto talking about, don't take Ed, take me, it's all me and everything like that. But Keto won't believe him. He's look, Ed's already confessed and everything and blah, 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 blah. Frank is really upset, so he devises a way to get Ed out. And he goes to Robert to like go to that one Japanese dude that he sold the thing to, and he literally just tells him, "Hey, look, man, we made you a fake." He thinks somehow this is going to get them out, but it just puts them in more hot water with this gangster and everything. But then the gangster has a proposition. He will get Ed out of jail, but Frank and them have to pay him tons and tons of money per week. So he has to make fake jewelry. Robert has to pawn it and everything, and or find like a buyer, and they have to pay the Japanese gang and everything. If not, they die. But it works, and Ed is now free. And so Ed's kind of like, oh, so now we work for them and everything. But here's the thing, Frank doesn't really do what he's supposed to do because now he has joined the resistance. After they come to him about the whole Juliana thing, he's pissed and talking about this is all y'all fault. And all y'all do is like, because they found out about his family. And it's like, oh, no, don't give me that crap because you're trying to recruit me. But they end up recruiting him anyways. And so, like, he is so pissed to the point where he would even talk down to Robert in Robert's own home. And to the point where now he can't go back to his place because it's been ransacked again. And him and Ed now live with Robert because Frank has literally told Robert, look, man, I don't care, this is your place. We're going to stay here and everything now. But for some reason, Ed won't go back to his dad and stuff, or grandfather or whatever. And so Frank ends up, still making jewelry, but he's not really helping out and everything. He could care less about that gang. He's just more focused on stopping the Japanese with the resistance. And they tell him that once upon a time ago, they dropped the bomb on San Francisco, but it did not explode. So they go underground, they find it, and Frank literally has to drill a hole and get the fuel from that of the bomb so they can use it to make, like, just blow something up, right? And he helps them even to the point of, like I said before, he hooks up with Sarah. But the thing I don't understand, if he hates Japanese people, why did he hook up with Sarah? And he likes her so much, he's willing to risk his life for her. That part of the writing don't make no sense because it would have been nice to have them argue and everything. But anyway, so he helps save her by shooting like a man. And he's never killed before. But he's so deep in it now that he's going to do whatever it takes. And when they were supposed to, I think, blow one place up, he realized he noticed something. Tons of Japanese soldiers were wearing radiation suits. And the top general was there. He realizes that the Japanese must have like a nuke or something like that. And that they're planning to drop it like, on like the American Reich and whatever. And it's going to cause a war. So him, Ed, and Robert need to get the heck on out of there and crap. But like, they have to take out whatever it is, that facility where they're making that bomb and stuff. And so because of this, Frank and Ed end up having a fight because he realized Ed sold him out to the Kuitai. I don't know how to say that. The Japanese soldiers. Basically, Ed is their informant and everything. But, he cares about Ed like a brother and stuff like that. So, on the big mission, him and Sarah are pretending that Sarah is the general's niece. They get inside the building where a lot of the head executives are. And the bomb is in the car and they set it off. But Keto recognizes that of Frank. Next thing you know, boom, the whole building explodes. There are people dead left and right. And we don't know the fate of Sarah or Frank. Now, I will spoil something for season 3. Sarah dies off screen in the explosion. Gary, who was not there in the building and far, far away, it is revealed that he dies off screen because they found him, interrogated him, killed him off screen. So he's no longer on the show. I don't know why. They just wrote that dude completely off. And as for Frank, he survives. and everything. But it ain't looking good for old Frank, because if he was caught in the explosion, then they pretty much is gonna interrogate the dude again. I am just shocked as how all this transpired and everything from between season 2 and season 3. They literally just wrote off two really cool characters and killed them off screen. Ed's a very unique individual. You can't really tell what's going on in Ed's mind, and he's very different in this season than he was in season 1. In season 1, when he finds out Frank made a real gun and plans on assassinating the Crown Prince, he tries to stop him. Everything Frank does, he tries to stop, because he knows Frank is going to get himself in trouble. And he's really close with that of Frank and Juliana. When Robert asked him, did a woman you ever love ever get away? And he said, just one woman ever got away. And so we assume it's Juliana and everything. And we see a flashback of when Juliana met him. And then when she was hugging Frank, she was looking at Ed. But it's kind of weird because she kind of gave him the Google eyes and everything. But, might not be what you think. So anyway, so him and Robert pretty much paired this season because Frank is doing his own thing. And so, like I said before, the dude cares about Frank and Juliana so much, he was willing to take the fall for Frank and literally die for it. And of course, off screen, they beat the crap out of him when he's in prison. And when he gets out, they're all Frank has just managed to get you out and blah, blah. And he's all he was upset. He's like, no, you people lied to me and everything. That wasn't the deal. And so anyway, he goes and he stays at Robert's place along with Frank. And we find out because when he's talking to Robert, Robert's all why do you walk in Frank's shadow? Why don't you be your own man? Grow a spine and everything. And so Ed finally decides he's going to stand up to Frank and everything. And it kind of shocks Frank, but Frank doesn't care. And Ed's a little irritated that he slept with Sarah and stuff. So anyways, when it's time to make the drop for the money and everything, Ed has to go by himself because Frank's not there. But Robert decides to go with him. He's all he doesn't want you to screw everything up because you don't know Japanese and he doesn't want to die. Well, while they're with the gangsters and everything, they later get stuffed in the fridge because Keto got a tip that the gang is working for the Knots and everything. And you can't do that because you're traitors. So they bust in and shoot them all. When they find Ed and Robert in the room, they literally tell them, go home. I'm just like, the heck? Why did they let them live? And of course, they got to keep all the money. Well, it turns out that off screen, Ed made a deal with the Japanese coup d'etat and everything. That he'll be their informant and rat Frank out, but he didn't rat the resistance out. So they had no idea Frank was going to blow it up. This causes friction between those two. But when Juliana called Arnold to give a message to Frank about Hitler dying and everything, being poisoned, and they think it's the Japanese, they all have to get out the city. So Robert and Frank and Ed, they plan on leaving the city, but Frank decides he's gonna stay. And this pisses off Ed and everything. Because, he's risking everything. Because Frank feels like he has nothing to live for no more. He now knows the truth that Juliana isn't bad and everything, and he's lost everything, and he's just willing to die for it and stuff. Now, spoiler for season 3, we find out that Ed is actually gay and everything. So we're not really sure what he was talking about when he said that one woman got away. People assuming it's Juliana. We think he might mean it's Frank, because the dude will literally do anything for Frank. What I don't understand is that when they know war is coming, he doesn't even get his grandfather or father out the city. As for Robert, he doesn't do much other than what I just said. He works for Frank. He works with what's his name, Ed and everything, we see he still has a fetish for Asian women. And he will hire a white hooker, make her dress Japanese and speak Japanese. Hey, everybody likes something, you know what I'm saying? But it's weird that he likes the people that hate him. But then again, back in like slavery days, blacks and whites secretly liked each other, even though they wasn't supposed to like each other and stuff. Keto is there this season, but he doesn't do much. He's still intimidating by the way he looks, but not that much. We find out he has a son that lives in Japan. And so he still just wants Juliana back in prison. And he goes all the way to New York to the right to go get her. Very confident, but he makes a deal with John Smith. Basically, he found out that there's a Nazi that was like a traitor, and it's the one who tried to kill Hitler and everything. So as a result, like he now has leverage and everything like that, and him and the general dude do not get along. But like I said before, they was caught in the explosion, but Keto actually lives at the end of season 2. We see him live and everything, and he gets promoted in the next season. See, the Japanese, they are building an A-bomb, but they're doing more than that. They're building a hydrogen bomb and everything. And so they really want to take it to Germany and stuff like that because they don't like the Germans. Germans don't like them. They always plan on betraying them. And this is something that the one dude has been trying to prevent all along. The one that keeps traveling back and forth through dimensions and stuff. The Smith family. So John Smith, he's a high-ranking Nazi, right? And his wife is Helen. He has 2 daughters. The 2 daughters don't really do much but just pick on the brother. And there is Thomas. Now, the dude was extremely evil last season, and people in his own division even tried to kill him because he's that high ranking up. And he's American born. He used to be a former American soldier. He saw the nuke go off at Washington, D.C. And at some point, he defected and turned into like a German Nazi. As evil as this man is, and you can never tell how he's feeling because he always gives the evil eye look, right? He loves his family more than the Reich. And this entire season, we will see him do whatever it takes to keep his son alive. They are literally trying to redeem this character. So he sends Joe off to Berlin and everything. And while here, like I said before, his son is sick. He's been sick since last season. The doctor that knows about this gave him some poison to kill his son because he says it's going to be a whole lot more worse if his son has to go to the hospital and the Reich has to get him and stuff. So John decides, since the doctor's the only person who knows about these tests, I'm going to use the poison on him. And kills him and goes to his freaking funeral. And the wife's all like, oh, I'm so sorry your husband died. Sort of crap. Anyways, he has devised a plan for his son to go on a trip to South America, and these people who work close with him are going to pretend to kidnap his son. And so him and his whole family can live the rest of their life in South America away from the Nazis for many decades and stuff. It is amazing that this man is willing to do whatever it takes for his family. It shows the kind of person he really is. He's completely down for Germany and the Nazis and everything, but he loves his family even more. It was strange they tried to get people to sympathize with him and like him and everything, because he's a very evil dude, you know what I'm saying? And so, by this time, him and Hitler are very close as well. He's even talked to him on the phone. They don't show Hitler that much for obvious reasons on the show. He was barely shown in season 1. He's barely shown here because, it would probably trigger a lot of people and stuff. And the person who plays him looks pretty close to him, but a much older version. And so, Hitler is trembling. He's dying and everything. And he finally dies. And the man who takes over his position as acting like chancellor or something like that, he wants to go to war with that of Japan over in America. Well, the thing is that remember when I said when Smith was working with Keto and everything, Keto told him there's a man that's a Nazi that's like a traitor and everything. He tried to kill the crown prince. So they interrogated him, and Smith goes to Berlin, and he tells that Himmler that like I can't pronounce this dude's name, Martin Hieselman, that he is the one who's next in line, and he's the one who actually killed Hitler. He tried to kill the crown prince. He's been putting all this stuff in motion so that Japan and Germany could go to war. So he helped prevent like a civil war and everything. As for his wife Helen, she has a more prominent role as the series goes on. She's very pristine, very nice and everything, and she loves her son, and she's terrified that her son might die and everything. Well, here's the problem. Because Heisenman is now in prison and stuff, Himmler has now taken over, and he praises John Smith for the whole world to see. Because, like I said, Heisenman is the one who's been poisoning Hitler, tried to kill the crown prince, and this and that. Well, that causes Thomas to be inspired by his father. And he decides, you know what, if, the Germans don't like people who are like, have illnesses and like, disabilities, then I'm not going to break the law and I'm going to do whatever best for the Reich. So he turns himself in at the very end as his mother's hollering and crying as the doctors take him away and stuff. That's a freaking idiot for you. He's willing to die for the cause and everything. Now, Joe Blake is the other person they try to redeem. After the mission of season 1, he's on the boat with the tape, right? And so he's there with a bunch of like pirate type people who are black. And so they don't trust him because, they work with the resistance and stuff like that. And they tell him, well, first they got the radio working that was never broken to begin with. And they tried to kill him when they found out he's a Nazi and everything because Lim contacted them. But he bribes his way out of it. He's like, look, man, I can make y'all millionaires and stuff like that. Well, they do the exchange. Joe and the tape goes with the Nazis and they get tons of money. But there's a bomb in the money and it blows up, killing all the pirate type dudes. Joe is upset because he did not want that to happen, but that's how his people are. They're dirty. So he goes back to New York to that of his girlfriend and son. And while there, him and her, like, he gets a call from Smith telling him to go to Berlin. So he goes, and his girlfriend realizes he has probably hooked up with another woman and tells him, look, you come back, you want to be in your son's life, that's fine. But you ain't going to be in mine and everything. And his girlfriend, Juliana, actually talked. And it's very brief, but he's talking about like he lied and used you like he does everybody else. He literally left his son and everything. So while in Germany, he meets with Martin Heisenman. And he doesn't like him. Remember Heisenman's from season 1. And so he's all like, look, man, you the one drove my mother away, this and that. Heisenman lets him know, yo, look, man, you my son and everything. And your mom kidnapped you and took you to America, but you was born here in Berlin. He doesn't at first believes it because they take him to this laboratory hospital where Joe finds out he's Lieberborn and everything. Now, what that means is something actually that happened in real life during the war. The Nazis only wanted perfect specimens. basically what they would do is they would find these single mothers and stuff, and they will like, be like, I guess they would like pump them full of vitamins and this and that, and they would like, make babies with high ranking officials and stuff, so that their race would be pure and everything. Only white people, and only people who are like the best of the best. And there they will be taught to like, be pristine and be high ranking and this and that. He doesn't want to believe that at first, and doesn't like the idea he's some type of lab experiment and everything. But like I said, his mother took him to like New York and all this other crap. So his father like tries to persuade him to stay, but he doesn't want to. As soon as he rejects that offer, a woman walks up to him and starts flirting with him. This woman name is Sarah, another Liebenborn person. And so she convinces him to stay by living a fun, free, carefree lifestyle and meeting other Liebenborn people. They have like a sexual encounter and everything. She gets him high. He's partying with other people. And he starts to dream about Juliana and everything because he really likes her. Well, he decides to stay, and he decides he's going to work alongside his father and all this and that. When Hitler dies, his father is promoted, but his father literally wants to go to war with that of Japan. And when Smith finds out like what his father did, they have his father arrested and they arrest Joe. So next season, we're gonna find out what happened after they get arrested. I could not believe they tried to redeem Joe. Like, the dude was like a double spy and everything, and he helped corrupt that of Juliana. I don't understand what's up with the writers. I guess maybe he's eye candy and they wanted to keep him or something like that, but whatever, dude. Like, he's evil and stuff. But he does show that he does have a heart of gold in season 1, but only for Juliana. So, last but not least, Trade Minister Tamogami. I can't say his name. Tagomi. Anyway, Tagomi, he's that mysterious man from season 1 who's been trying to prevent a war. He's also close with that of Juliana. And he's the one who gives her advice and tries to help her get to like New York and stuff when she needed help. Remember at the end of season 1, he just disappeared and vanished when he meditated, and he ended up in an alternate Earth where America won the war and stuff. So we get to see him on this other Earth, and he pretty much spends the entire time there until like the last episode. See, while there, he is very shocked and surprised to find not only his wife, but his son alive too. In his world, they both died during the war. But here they are alive and well, they just don't like him. See, there used to be another version of him on that world, but that person ended up missing and then later dying. It turns out that the other version of him on that world isn't so nice, and him and his wife are divorcing. Him and his son got into a huge fight before he left, and his son has a son, and apparently it's just a baby. And apparently, Togomami, I can't say his name, Togomi, he, I guess, acted so angry around the baby, it scared the baby. Now, what's crazy and interesting is that his son is married to Juliana in this universe. And him and Juliana bond to the point where it causes the rest of his family members to like him again. She's always that key factor in every reality, especially with him and stuff. So it turns out that when he left before, the other version, Juliana and his son started protesting the Cuban Missile Crisis and everything. And so she's always involved in some type of war, like I said before. But he is even more shocked to find out, like when he argues with his son was born in Japan, but he lives in America and he considers himself American and denounces his Japanese heritage and stuff, which his father does not like. You gotta remember, he comes from a world where Japan rules part of America. Him and his wife don't interact much, but he fixes the cup that his other version broke and stuff. His family starts, like I said, to come around. But he is shocked and surprised to find out that Japan lost the war. And not only that, but people of Asian heritage and stuff are made fun of on television. Remember, this is the 1960s. So tons of white people dressed up as Asian people and mocked them. He is surprised to find out all of this stuff. But he's even more surprised to find out that the way Americans won the war with Japan is by dropping the A-bomb on them and stuff. And he fears that the same thing that happened here is going to happen in his world. Is just the knots are going to drop it on like California and San Francisco and stuff. So, after finding this out and mending things with his duplicates like family, he tells them he has to leave. Now, what's weird is that we never see him be sick. He's supposed to be sick because this is a new rule that got introduced in like the later seasons. If you travel to another dimension and you happen to live, you have a duplicate that lives in the other dimension, and they're dead, you will get sick from too long exposure and stuff. So when he leaves, it upsets the family. And when he comes back, he talks to this one man who's his right-hand man. And he tells him, "You're not from my earth, are you?" And the man's all like, "No, he came from a world where Japan lost." And he lost his family. And angry, he started like meditating or whatever, and he ended up and try to say this dude name again. Tagomi and his world and stuff, where he likes it a whole lot better. Well, he tells him, "Hey, look, man, there's about to be a war in case you didn't know, because you've been traveling to another dimension." So he now fears about what's gonna happen to like, that other world's gonna happen here. Now, the Japanese have not finished their bomb yet, but with information that they give to Smith, that Kido gives to Smith and everything, Smith is able to bribe them, but give them like a ruse and everything. Basically, he tells them that they have a bomb, they're gonna drop it at any time, and we can't go to war with them. This is how Smith prevents the war. They have not perfected the bomb yet. They perfected the next season, a hydrogen bomb and everything. And so he was outside the building when it exploded and stuff. And so with his character, at the very end of the episode, we see Liam give him a bunch of tapes that the man in the High Castle wants him to have. How they know he travels back and forth, I do not know. So season 2, while not as thrilling and exhilarating as season 1 with a lot of high stakes, there are still high stakes nevertheless in season 2. But like I said before, season 2 is more character driven. It's more character development, which normally happens in the second season. Maybe season 1 was too intense and they had to like tone it down, probably. Hey, I don't know, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, you can find this on like Amazon Prime and stuff. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.